Welcome to the Startup Croydon podcast. Joining me in the podcast studio this morning is Saffron Saunders, CEO of Startup Croydon, and we're going to have an interesting, engaging conversation. Hi, Saffron.
Hi, Aysha.
Thank you for inviting me here today. Surprisingly, not somebody who's hosting the podcast, but we're going to be just having a nice conversation.
So tell us about what you do. You know, who do you serve, and what kind of services do you provide?
So my main core business is I have a coaching and consulting business, and that's in communications and media coaching, consulting and training. I deliver coaching and workshops and masterclasses, and the two main areas are communications and media. So communications, I'll just mention a few of them because sometimes there's too many it can be a bit overwhelming. It's powerful public speaking, how to be a powerful public speaker. So I teach them the formula to public speaking. Also how to present to camera and how to speak with gravitas and confidence. And also charisma. The media side of things is how to deliver impactful media interviews, and also how to generate your own PR if you are a business, because many business owners want to get PR, but they don't want to hire out a PR agency. So it's just showing them and empowering them, you know, how does it work in the world of journalism and what you can do to start generating your own public relations and connecting with journalists. So they're the two key main areas of focus, is media and communications, which extends from my previous career in broadcast journalism.
So it sounds as if your favourite service is PR and comms, or have I got that around the wrong way? What is your favourite service that you provide?
All of them. I really love all the services I'm providing. One of the ones that's incredibly popular at the moment is powerful public speaking. I think a lot of people understand that in the current times in which we're living, to be an impactful public speaker on a public platform or even in the corporate world or in the working sphere, you have to be able to connect and engage with your audience. So that's what I teach them, the formula to, really engage with your audience and connect with them, so that your message actually reaches them and resonates with them, as opposed to the old school style of public speaking where people were more about talking, you know, in a more authoritative style and in a more commanding style. That has totally changed now. So that is something I really, really enjoy doing, because I'm really passionate about public speaking myself. So I really enjoy that. I also deliver media interview training, so showing people how to be impactful on camera. So many people, when they're being interviewed by broadcasters in radio or in the television media, because so many people I find don't, I take it for granted because I worked in the sector for so many years, but I find so many people don't actually have any understanding of what's going on in that world. So it's actually really, for me, that's really insightful because I take it for granted. But sometimes it's just the simple things like, if you don't prepare, the interviewer, the journalist is going to hijack the agenda. And they're like, oh, really? And I'm like, do you know that there's 4 types of broadcast interview? And they don't have a clue. So I'm like, you're going to go in there, and as a business, your objective is just going to be annihilated.
Okay, I don't know those 4 things, so this probably is going to be hijacked. What are those 4 things then, Aysha?
So, for example, in broadcasting, if you get asked to feature on a, like BBC London, or if you get asked to feature on a television interview, whether it's local, whether it's national, whether it's regional, there's 4 types of interview. Firstly, you have the most common kind of interview, and that is where they will come to your house or come to your location, and they will just be doing a report. So they'll do an interview with you directly, the reporter will. And that's the most popular type. But there's also a down the line interview, and that's when, if you're in a location which is far from the studio, most television outlets have small studios in different locations so that they can get their guests into the studio and down the line. So that's known as a down the line. And then you also have the studio interview, for example. And the studio interview is one where you'll be invited into the studio to be speaking. And then you have the live on location. Live on location would be there if, for example, there's been a crime has taken place, or there's something that's taken place outside a court. You might be actually interviewed outside the location. So many people don't actually understand that when they're being invited for an interview, it's not just going to be, an interview in the studio. Many think it's not. There's so many. So you need to be able to be, have that understanding so that when you are, invited to be interviewed by a journalist, that you can ask them the right questions. And many people don't even feel empowered. They feel a little bit intimidated by the journalism scene. They don't feel that they can even ask the journalist, for example, what is the line of questioning going to be, or who is the journalist who's going to be interviewing me. But having worked in the industry, I know that it's completely plausible and it's completely okay for you to ask them, because, it's not them who are doing you a favour. Journalists also need stories desperately. They're hungry for stories. So you need to also look at it as in the sense that you're doing them a favour if you can provide them stories that are interesting, engaging and newsworthy. That's the key.
Yeah, I can hear that, and I think it is quite intimidating for laymen to be interviewed and to, in a completely different world they're not used to. But yeah, it's always interesting and fascinating what goes on behind the cameras, really, isn't it?
Yes,
So it's been over a year since you've been working with Startup Croydon and hosting our podcast, which we started in our little media studio upstairs, and now we're in this amazing facility. It's been wonderful having you host our podcast for us, and hopefully you've met some interesting people and it's helped you grow. I remember when we first met, you were just starting out as a consultant and you kind of came in saying, how can you help me? And it turns out you helping us has been the biggest help, I think.
I think it's been mutual for sure.
Yeah, that's great.
Definitely. Yeah. In fact, more so from you guys to me than from myself to you guys.
That's amazing. I mean, because what you've added to us has been, immeasurable, in how you've been able to host this podcast and help us grow.
But that was my give back as well.
Yeah,
that's just what if I'm being helped or assisted, and I always have this thing within me, which is that I want to be able to also give back. I always have that something that's strong within me. I don't know if it's an advantage in the business world, but I can't get rid of that.
Oh, that's wonderful. I think it's so relevant in today's business world. Business for good and business making a difference to actually be impactful with what you do is so important. And it seems all businesses have that aspect of them now, even if they are small, being able to give back. And Startup Croydon is obviously based on people giving and supporting and helping the sort of, the circular economy keep going, which is wonderful. It's a great place to work and a great place to impact people locally. So you've met quite a lot of different people over the last 12 months.
So many.
And I'm going to throw this one out there, but is there any one that kind of springs to mind?
Surprisingly for me, the ones that have really all of them have made an impact, and I've learned from all of them, such as the gentleman from Sales Geek. He taught me a lot of lessons.
Oh, Jerry,
yeah. Winston Douglas was so exciting. Because of the way he had gone from working in the fire industry to setting up his own business, which was really successful, and how he also, despite the fact that he could take it to whatever level he potentially would want to, he was quite content with he wasn't going to be pushed into any particular direction. But some who have really, I would say, some that have really touched my heart have been Maribel Skelly.
Okay,
who's doing something for with prisoners.
Yeah.
And also a lady who I interviewed with regards to her work with to basically promote disability rights.
Is that Emma?
Yes, Emma Shepherd.
Yes, that's right.
Emma Shepherd. That's really incredibly inspiring because her personal journey was she'd been through so much. Yet despite that, and despite going through a lot of pain, she is still so relentless and so determined and so doing an amazing work. So that was very, very touching. And then I also met with a mother whose son had been murdered. And despite that, she, despite him being currently behind bars, she was really passionate about working with young people to, to help them not go down that route again. So I just feel that in Startup Croydon, so there's been so many others as well who have been phenomenal in so many different industries. But these were the ones that were the most heart-touching and incredibly inspiring because they were just phenomenal. I just felt they were phenomenal individuals.
Yeah, I think the theme of our podcast is obviously business and local business. Yeah. And those people that you mentioned there are in business. Business is for good. They're making a difference. Yeah. And Dahlia, who you mentioned, her story is so poignant in this day and age, especially in such an urban area like Croydon, and it's something that we can't ignore. We have to pay attention to the fact that these things are happening, and she's able to turn this tragic story into a business for good, where she goes and gives consultancy, and she's working with mothers of other victims and perpetrators, and she's trying her hardest to make a difference and help herself heal and help others, which I think is phenomenal and something we should all learn from, really, in business. Completely. It doesn't have to just be about making money. It can be about making good happen.
Absolutely, yeah.
So here we are. I don't know if this camera is sort of showing the podcasting studio, but we do have this new facility which is completely soundproofed with a control room and engineers as well, which is quite something. Croydon is really, not usually in the news for such positive things, but we do have this incredible creative digital lab here now, and it's started being used. We've only opened the last 3 months, and we still haven't got the signs up because we are very, very early still. How does it feel working in such a space compared to where we were before? And how does it compare to other studios that you've used?
Wow, compared to the space in which we started, this is a complete transformation, a complete evolution, just phenomenal, I would say. I mean, there is no comparison. There is absolutely no comparison. And when I sometimes look at pictures from, those ones, I'm like, oh my God, totally different. Compared to other radio or broadcast outlets I've worked in, I would say this is absolutely state of the art, cutting edge, and just a fabulously technically equipped, and also design-wise, it's just, really, really impressive. Anyone that I've interviewed here, anyone who's come through these doors is always quite blown away. And I think that says it all.
Yeah, and I think that some people have sort of said, you can do a podcast on your phone, you can do a podcast in your bedroom. Why do people need to use this kind of space? And I think you've hit the nail on the head, to impress your guests in a completely soundproofed and professional space is going to bring it to a different level altogether.
Totally. I think, yes, you can do a podcast anywhere. Of course, everyone's, people are doing that. But I think if you want to put across a professional image and you want to have the best quality sound, and you also want to, have a good impression on your guests, then it's really important to hire out a good quality facility. And I think what you have here at the Creative Digital Lab is totally state of the art. And will, help businesses project a very professional image in their podcast. So, yeah, it's definitely worth it.
Thank you. You did say about talking about some of the other services that we provide. You've been on the boot camp. You've been on the business program. What else did you say here?
Lots of things.
Lots of the events. You were a speaker at one of our events. Yes, I suppose all of those different things have helped raise your profile. Yeah. And you were a host at TED Talks in Croydon, weren't you? So there's all sorts of different things that have come, hopefully, from connections and so on. How, for instance, how did you find the boot camp when you were a participant?
Yeah, I don't think I was your best student. When I look back, I realise that. At the time, I didn't.
Really? Is that what you feel?
I just think sometimes, if there's something which requires a lot of thought, and I'm like, no, let me just dive into it, which is wrong, actually, I realise now. You need to plan and prepare.
I think the thing with the boot camp is that when we did it with you, it was a 3-day course, and so it was a lot, all in one go, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we've divided that up now, so it's just the last Thursday of every month, and the content is spread over 3 months, if that makes sense. And I think we say to people, you don't know what you don't know. And some of the stuff when you go into the room may be stuff you know already. But if it is, then you can help others in the room. And there will all be nuggets. There'll always be some nuggets of growth and learning that you'll get from the experience.
No, I look back at that and think, oh, you idiot.
Oh, do you?
Why did you not pay attention? Because that was really valuable. And then so that's a mistake. And I realise that's because I've worked on it now, so I'm not as impatient as I used to be. I was always like, I just want things done faster. If it doesn't work in business, you can't be at that speed.
So I think you've been working with one of our advisors on the e-business programme. Is that right? How have you found that?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many services here at Startup Croydon that have been so beneficial for me as a startup. The boot camp was really inspiring. I remember that you hosted it on the day. It was very inspiring in terms of structuring your business and laying out your business. There's so many networking events here which have been fantastic. I've met so many other startups and business owners. You have lots of events and special days which are always exciting. And thank you. You gave me the opportunity to host on International Women's Day, which was really great and exciting for me as well. And also, of course, you have business growth now here, experts here, and
the business program.
The business program, So Naveed has been the person that I've been speaking with, and he's been giving me phenomenal advice in terms of, actually he gave me a push. He was like, right, you need to start doing ABC to move forward, and also courage. He was like, I don't know if I really want to do that bit though, because I'm not sure. He's like, no, you just do it. And sometimes it's just words that somebody says to you that can be the breakthrough.
Yeah.
And with him, it was just literally him just saying, it doesn't matter what you're thinking, regardless of everything, you just do it.
That's good.
And just that courage is actually what propelled me to really move forward with certain areas of my business that I was, I think, hesitant to do.
Yeah, we talked about that, didn't we? And it was sharing more content on LinkedIn, which has helped you to raise your profile. Absolutely.
He was very adamant that I get onto LinkedIn, and I was like, I really not think I should do that right now. But it has been a really good, it was a really good push.
Strategy as well.
Definitely. And LinkedIn is quite mind-blowing in terms, because I was posting a lot on other socials and didn't necessarily have a strategy in place. And I realized that actually for business, the best platform, I believe, is LinkedIn. Because that's where all your potential clients are. Yeah. And it's not as stressful as things like Instagram and stuff. That's just, I don't even really like going on there very much. But
it feels very different, doesn't it? It does feel much more professional. It feels like a conversation. Yeah. And I really enjoy LinkedIn. I'm sure the people that follow me know. I have been told to try and be a bit quieter, but you have to share, don't you? It's important if you want to raise the profile and raise the profile of what you're trying to do. So.
And he said to me that I needed to be consistent on it as well. That was another message he drove into me, and I was like, wow, how am I going to be doing that on a daily basis?
So how are you doing it? Are you scheduling stuff, or are you posting yourself?
I would say that I'm scheduling a week in advance. Okay. I don't do a month. I know you can do a month, but I feel that in the early stages you should just do it week by week, because then you can kind of have a look at how things are moving forward.
And is that generating conversations in your inbox as well? Absolutely. It's not just posts and then comments. There's actually people come.
No, I've had quite a lot of inquiries come through from all different segments, from the education sector, from the corporate sector, from charities, from youth groups, literally through LinkedIn.
Amazing.
And obviously I was at a point where I was like, hey, time to start networking now, time for me to start getting out there and doing a lot more networking. But then suddenly I just got onto LinkedIn and I was like, oh my God, I don't think I have time right now, because I've got all these Zoom calls taking place and things. So it's just been really, really good.
No, it's a great platform, isn't it? Especially as you move around, how you can keep your contacts and keep all your sort of connections. Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, so that's definitely a great tool for you. Absolutely. So thanks to Startup Croydon for getting me.
Yeah, we're just trying to work out how we can help people further with LinkedIn. And so, the e-business program is all about digital strategy and using digital tools to improve your business presence and your business growth. Yeah. It's a government-funded project which has come out post-pandemic. Because some of those companies that probably didn't make it didn't really have a digital presence. Yeah. We all have to have a digital presence these days. It's so important. But then how do you make the most of that? Is it through your social media? Is it through your back end kind of CRM systems, how you manage all your contacts, that kind of thing? Yeah. And our advisors are impartial with the advice they offer, which means that as a business you have to outsource and pay for services often. But with this service it's impartial. These guys are basically giving advice based on their knowledge and their own experience, rather than being paid by different sponsors.
Yeah. But I think LinkedIn is definitely a tool that every business owner should utilize. But it is about working out a strategy that works for you. So for me, it was, I was just doing a lot of A/B testing, they call it. I didn't realize it was A/B testing, but somebody was like, you're doing A/B testing here. Somebody in sales said to me, I was like, is it? Oh, okay. I'm going to analyze this more closely. So you see what's working, what's not working, what are people interested in line with what you can actually offer them. Yeah. And
you did that on LinkedIn, did you?
While I was doing LinkedIn, yes, just analysing,
interactions.
What was the interaction? What were people interested in my content? Where was I actually being useful and helpful? And I realised that people were very interested in the public speaking. They were very interested in learning how to communicate with gravitas. Many people are very interested in how to deliver media interviews. And I think there's a lot of communication coaches in America. And there are some in London as well, but I think because of my broadcast background, I think that gives me an added edge. Yeah. I think I've my niche is something that is getting quite strong, and it's just about moving it forward further now. So yeah, thank you, Saffron, for those early days when I messaged you.
You're welcome. It was wonderful to meet you. And saying,
come along, come in and let's have a conversation. And, that was really lovely of you, actually, because at that time, I think it was a post-COVID time. And for me, I was like, I don't think I was the most business savvy person at that time. I'd come from a creative sector and I was very creative, and I don't think I was very strategic at all. So it was wonderful that you invited me in, and it's wonderful to have Startup Croydon here and that continuous ongoing support is really, really useful, and it's always very, very relaxing to know that it's there.
It's really a case of jumping on board and coming and getting involved, and that's how you grow your business. That's how you grow your connections. That's how you learn. Like you've said, you've learned so much over that period of time when you look back at how you looked at certain aspects of it to how you look at it now. And that's the journey of being a startup. It doesn't happen overnight. We tell people all the time, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Slow down, take those tiny steps to reach the long-term goals. You're not going to get there straight away. And it's been absolute pleasure seeing you develop and having you involved with what we're doing. And we look forward to meeting more people as they come forward. So thank you.
Thank you.